Hello everyone, and Shavua Tov, we are in Parashat Balak. Parashat Balak, it's a scene from J.R. Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings. Like, if that's a scene, this is it. Okay? We talk about wizards, witchcraft, putting a spell, the bad army, the good army, whatever you want. This is real Fantasia land. Okay? Bible, everything is here. But what's in it for us? Right? We're not here to be entertained because we want to be entertained. There are movies with all kinds of animations and stuff like this. Why should I read this old book? It's a very old book. What for? There's a message. Now, first, the story. In a previous parashot, last week, we explained that last week, Parashat Chukat, historically, we skipped 37 years. The beginning of the parasha is the last law given on Sinai, in the area of Sinai, as the Israelites camping next to Sinai and getting all the laws, what is called the biblical law. Okay, that's why the beginning, Zot Chukat Torah. This is the law, the universal law of the Torah. That's how it's structured. Okay, after that is finished, chapter 19 in the book of Numbers. Chapter 20 is already happening 37 years later. It's about the passing away of Miriam, the sister of Moses and Aaron. She was a prophet of her own. She was a leader of her own. She was even before Moses was born, and she was a very powerful lady anyway, but without the need for Moses. It's not because she was Moses' sister, maybe because he was her brother, because she saved his life. If 2 times. Who knows the story, but it's not for now. Now, Miriam passes on, and as we said, from the passing on of Miriam, there's about a year till the end of the Torah when Moses passes on and the 5 books of Moses are over. Okay? And that will be covered by the parashot from now all the way till Simchat Torah, after Rosh Hashanah. So, now, where did we finish? We finished that in last parasha, the Israelites go up on the east side of the land of Israel, on the border of the desert with the Arabian desert. They go up north. They couldn't go through Edom. They could not go through Moab. We're talking about the east side of Israel, which is the east side of the Arava, or the Negev is called Edom, Red Mountains. Then the east of the Dead Sea, that's Moab. They go around it, and they go straight west, and they were the Amorites over there. 2 kings of the Amorites, they were gone. They were finished by the Israelites, took the land, and now they're camping in the last camp they have outside Israel before entering, and they're waiting for Moses to go so they can get in. Okay, that's last week's parasha. Historically, this week's parasha speaks about Vayar Balak ben Tzipor, the king of Moab. His name was Balak, and he sees the devastation, how the Israelite swallowed up the Amorite kings, which means the 2 kingdoms north of him were gone in an instant, and he thinks he's next. He does not know that God tells Moses, don't touch Moab, it's not their time. Only 500 years later, less a little bit, King David took over Moab. It's not their time, leave them alone. He doesn't know that. The Moabites are scared to death because they thought the Amorites will be, the coalition of the Amorites together with the Moabites, they'll be strong enough to stop the Israelites. So many ites. Okay, but you're talking about ancient times, and English is a weird language. Some stuff was left still in the Dark Ages, or some in the time of what's his name, King James, and some in Shakespeare. Okay, Hebrew stayed the same, so the names stay the same. Okay, so he's really scared. Now Balak says the commentaries. Balak was a magician, big magician. Why they took a magician? Because the war between Israel and Egypt was not in a battlefield. It was not on horses, not with spears, not with bow and arrows, not even with rifles. The war was magic against magic. So the Moabites are so afraid, so they take a warlock, one of the greatest in the world at the time, his name is Balak, to lead them to fight against Moses and the Israelites. Okay? So it says, וירא בלק בן ציפור את כל אשר עשה ישראל המורי, they saw. And then the question is, how did he see? Like, he watched the news, right? No, there was no TV at that time. That's 34 centuries ago. How did he see? Oh, he used his crystal ball. He had something like crystal ball, and we'll talk about it. And he saw how powerful the Israelites are. He really saw with his eyes. That's what the Zohar says. And he got really scared, as it says, Vayaga Moab, and Moab was really afraid, but afraid in a high level, intense. Meod, very. Vayakotz Moab mipnei Israel, and they were like so afraid. But the Israelites were not even thinking about it. Leave them alone. We are going to cross the river Jordan. And then the Moabites, who were enemies with the Midianites, they say, guys, coalition. This is the way it is till today. We can't find them alone. Let's, my enemies are my friends. Correct? Still today, world politics. Same concept. Okay, so what happened? We are going back. And as it says, the Moabites are telling the elders of Midian, now, I'm just making it short, let's make a coalition, and how would you fight them? Okay, so they say, let's bring another magician. This guy's name is Bilam. Now, Balak and Bilam were the greatest magicians in the world, warlocks on the dark arts. Okay? They were really on the bad side. And let's call Bilam. He lived not in another area, to invite him in. And Bilam was kind of, we have an account, with him, because Bilam's father was Beor. Who was Beor's father? Lavan. You remember Lavan? Mm-hmm. That's a father of Rachel and Leah. Okay? So Beor is a brother of Rachel and Leah, the matriarchs. So Bilam is a cousin. Sometimes the biggest hate you find in the family, right? Lavan, remember the Lavan was also a dark magician, really dark. It was a miracle Jacob got out of him. Now he's trying to get even. Rabbi Zaklur even saying that Bilam was a reincarnation of Lavan. You see in Lavan, there's the letters Lamed Bet. In Bilam, starts also with Lamed Bet. So he couldn't get even with Jacob, and he can't understand how this guy, not just he left me, he took 4 wives, 12 children, and so much luck. And how did he do that? Nobody ever got out of me, complete, in one piece. Jacob just became rich. Can you understand that? Okay. The question we have is, how did Jacob got out of it? The question is, how did the Israelites got out of these 2 great warlocks and their spells and curses and magic? And not just that Bilam cannot curse them, whenever he opens his mouth, he's blessing them. Not just he's blessing them, what comes of his mouth is so beautiful, it becomes part of the liturgy of Jewish prayers. Like, this dark guy, this terrible guy, he wants to kill you. He wants to create a genocide. He wants to destroy the whole Israelite nation. And what comes of his mouth becomes part of the Hebrew prayer. It's like, not just that you fight him, you turn the curses into blessings that you use them even today. Isn't that? If that's not magic, tell me what is magic. This is a real magic. And our question is, how do we create this magic, especially in this month? And as we said in previous weeks. This month is pretty intense. And if you think this is intense, the next month, the first 2 weeks are even more intense. And you should be really careful before you jump into conclusions, hating somebody, fighting with somebody. I know he's bad. Relax, because you don't want to judge yourself. Not this month. You have to be really careful. You have to be careful always, but this month and the next month, it's like, whenever you see fire, put some water on it. Talking about inside yourself. So Balak is asking Bilam to come and curse the nation. There's a whole story about how it happened. We'll come to it soon. He comes, he builds altars, 7 altars. He makes a big show. I'm going, like voodoo, like this is big scale voodoo, like it's a national level. It's not like a village voodoo. It's a national level with royal support and an army behind it. And every time he tried to curse, his blessing come out of his mouth. Till Balak is saying, you see, I wanted to give you a lot of respect. You couldn't have it. Get out of here. So Bilam says, I know how you can destroy them only from within. Only from within. And then we'll come to that issue, and then in the end, they really create a dent. They create a terrible plague. 24,000 people die in that plague. I'll tell you how it happened later on. And then in the middle of this plague, it could be even worse. And Pinchas, if you know Kabbalah, you know about Pinchas. Pinchas stopped the plague. So, stopping the plague means, if last week's parsha was about healing, where the plague is being stopped, in this parsha. Next week's parsha, Pinchas, is all about healing, but it starts over here. It happens over here in this parsha. So we have another parsha of healing, and now the point is, from which direction? So I'll give you a story, because the story is like this. All of this is happening. Balak and Bilam and the army of cursing, like it's a real, while the Israelites are there in their camp, like they're learning Torah with Moses. They bring the offerings in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and they have no idea about all of this dark magic trying to be cast on them. And you know what? It doesn't work. It just bounce off. And who's hurt finally? Bilam, he dies. Okay, so to understand that, we have to understand that basically the Torah is teaching us that you don't need to know everything that your enemies are doing in order to counteract their hatred and negativity. You're not supposed to be so busy with what they're doing. I'll give you a story. Once upon a time, true story, some 20-something years ago, I'm in America, and then I was supposed I wanted to get this organization, to get inside the programs of Kabbalah classes, so the big public is going to hear that. And they were saying, if you want to put it in the magazine, you have to send this and this and this. So I sent this and this and this. The date is coming near, and they should publish, but nobody comes back to me. So to make sure, I called them. I called the office. The lady answers. And she said, you are Shaul Youdkevitch, you sent me. Blah, blah. And she screams and she yells, and she's like, I don't know her. But she was so angry about me. Like, I don't know, I didn't kill your son or something like this. But that's how it sounds like. So I said, just a second. What happened? Tell me. And she told me, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. How would I know? I did exactly what she asked. It's a lot. So I let her scream for a while. I get the venom out, and I'm sending her light and more light and more light. And I say, okay, I really apologize. I was right. She was wrong. But, getting right is not going to help me. So I said, I really apologize. And I understand I messed up, and I really apologize about it. And I'm just asking you, please tell me, what should I do to remedy that situation? All the wrongdoings I did. And she said, you just did it. Don't worry, it's going to be published. Okay. Then she hung up. And it was published. Okay, that's not the end of the story. A few months later, I'm sitting with a lady. She took the Kabbalah beginner's course. And she came with a terrible question about, she had a problem with her son. It's very, like, horrific. I don't wish it to anyone. And she comes and I told her some stuff she can do, and you know what? It did help. But after we were talking about her son and her problems and so on, and she said, do you remember that a few months ago you called that office about the publication? I said, yes. She said, do you know what happened when this lady that you spoke with closed the phone? It was in the 90s, so they were closing the phone. Some people are too young to know what does it mean closing the phone. To hang up. Hanging up. Okay? Okay, you put the speaker on down. Okay, so do you know what happened? Because I was there in the office. She hung up the phone and she said, and she started to curse you. Just never on my dead body. That's what she said. But that lady that spoke to me, but the lady right now that she's my student, she says, I was sitting over there. I heard a conversation with another guy. And we realized she was really wrong. You don't behave like this. She had something against you. So, but you spoke so nice to her. We heard you speaking to her. She said, why? Why should? So we went to the one in charge. We told him, and we made sure that the publication will come out. I had no idea. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? Many times it's none of our business, those little things. There's somebody running the show. Some people are saying, it's a small world. No, it's not. It's a huge world. But there's a good manager. And when you trust that manager, everything will work out the way it should be. You know what? If that lady was nice to me and no problem, that lady listening wouldn't come to take the classes. Because she said, you manage it so well. I wanted to see what does it mean to study Kabbalah. I wanted it too. And it helped her so much in her trouble that thanks to whom? To that crazy lady who was cursing me, right? So you don't know, somebody comes to curse and he's blessing. That's exactly the story of this parasha. Balaam came to curse. He really meant to curse. But what came out is just a blessing. So my question is not how to find somebody wrong, is how, think about it. The Israelite sitting in Matovu Oalecha Yaakov, and he says, how good is your dwelling, your tents, Israel. And that being said, in the prayer book, when you go into the synagogue, whose word is that? It's not Balaam's word. He said it, but who puts the word in his mouth? The light, God. So that's what the sages are saying. Nobody can move his smallest finger unless he has a permission from above. So who do we need a permission from? From people or from the light? From the manager of everything. Who does really understand how everything is being constructed? If you don't understand that, listen last week's parasha, Chukat, because we talked about it last week. Zot Chukat Torah, there are decrees. This is how the universe is structured. That's how it's programmed. You want your life to be successful, you have to go by the rules of the tree of life. When you go by the rules of the tree of life, you cannot be afraid all the time that somebody will hurt you. Why? Because even if they want to hurt you, they cannot unless you create an entrance. Tirza koret leganav, an opening invites a thief. Okay, that's how the sages say. It says also, the sages are saying, Lo achbar ganav, hachor ganav. Don't blame the mouse. Blame the hole in the wall that the mouse came through. Because if you blame the mouse, do you know what does it mean to destroy all mice population in the world? It's impossible. It's much more simple to shut down the hole. Don't fight the enemies. Fight the hole in you that invites them in, that calls them in, that allows them hurt us. And so this parasha is a lot about certainty, especially in this month, because this month is a month, as we said, the month of Tammuz, Cancer. It's a lot of emotions. And when do we have ups and downs in our emotions? Tide waves. When we have no certainty. When we forget that it's all about certainty. Then we can get scared. We can, it's manic depressive. That there's a name to it. Once you're happy, once you're depressed, that's cancer. And we all have the tendency this month to have this like mood swings. Why a mood swing? Because we forget where everything is coming from and who's running the show. Okay, but there's this very, very powerful Zohar that I want to share with you. And you know what? I read this parasha for 38 years. But it's the first time I saw that verse. It's like, sometimes you're not allowed and sometimes you are allowed. That's why you're allowed to read the Zohar, because the Zohar will let you read whatever you're ready for. But now everybody's ready. So this is as follows. Why I'm saying it. The story about Bil'am is very tricky, because it's not about bad-mouthing a guy that we don't know. He was a wizard of the dark arts. He was a grandson of Lavan, a reincarnation of himself. Whatever, are we bad-mouthing him? Or do we want to learn about ourselves? Because the Torah does not tell us history. It tells us only stuff we can use for the now. And the story is like this. Just to make sure that everybody understands. When Balak is scared about what's going on with the Israelites, and he's afraid that his witchcraft is not strong enough against Moses, because he sees, by the way, that the two kings of the Amorites, Sihon and Og, were also warlocks. That the war they tried to fight, it was again a wizardry war. And the fight was determined in, again, the wizardry world. Moses activated that huge power against the Amorites, who attacked him with dark magic, and Moses simply activated huge force of light. And that force of light is like, in the martial arts, if somebody big comes at you with all his force, you don't stop it. You just use his power against it. Just divert the power and get him out of his balance. And then, when he's out of balance, then you finish him off. That's what Moses did. They were on, pulling that huge forces to destroy Israel. Moses said, you want huge forces? He opened the faucet. Now it's not your faucet. This is like a fire hydrant. He just opened and said, oh, you want it? Get it. They burned themselves up. The point was that Balak was also doing his witchcraft at that moment, and he got hurt at the same time. That's how, when it says, Vayar Balak, and Balak saw, how did he see? He was doing his witchcraft, and he was going on the same wavelength. At the same time, the kings of the Amorites were going to the same place, and Moses is like, with his energy, and they just destroy themselves, the Amorites, and Balak was hit too. That's why it says that Balak saw. What did he see? We'll come to it. he got really afraid. If he was hurt so much and he thought he's such a great warlock, he needs help. Meanwhile, he's getting help from Balaam. And he's saying something, and he's sending, and it says, Vayelchu ziknei Moab. This is verse 7, chapter 22 in Numbers. And the elders of Moab, and the elders of Midian, the other nation, they went uksamim biyadam with the magic. Okay? And they come to Balaam, Vayavol Bilam, Vayidabru alav divrei Balak, and they try to convince Balaam to join the war. So Balaam says to them, Linu po halayla, sleep overnight, stay overnight. Vashivoti etchem davar, I will connect to God during the night, and I'll give you whatever God says to me, I will do. So they stayed overnight. And it says, and God came to Balaam that night. But you don't read Hebrew. When it says that Balaam saying, let me talk to God, he says to Youdkevitch, which is the force of the manifestation of the light force of the creation. And who talks to him? Elohim, not Youdkevitch, where knows that's a name of judgment. It's like the small name of judgment. So he's like pretending he is having conversation with the big guy up there, and he's having a conversation with his magical force of darkness, like something small, pretending. A lot of people do that. And he says, and God says, and so that God, Balaam's God, idol, says to him, who are these people? It's like, if you're God, why should you ask? You already know, right? But that was playing on his pride. So Balaam answers, oh, Balak, the king of Moab, he sent to me. Like, you know how it is when you try to excuse something? Oh, that's very important. This guy he's the king of Moab. And he says to me, this nation came out of it. It's like you have to tell God the story, right? He doesn't know. Why did you turn to him? Because he's God. If he's God, he's supposed to know why you tell him the story. So he tells the whole story. He wants me to curse them and to drive them away. So Balaam's God answers, Elohim, Vayomer Elohim. This is verse 12, chapter 22. And he says like this, do not, lo telech imahem, you would not go with them. Lo ta'oretam, you would not curse them. Ki baruchu, and the commentators are saying, and if you say, oh, so I'll bless them too. No, we don't need you. It's blessed already. They're already blessed. We don't need your help. Stay out of this business. Okay? For your good sake. For your own sake. So, ויקם בלעם בבוקר, ויאמר ישראל בלק, לכו אל ארצכם, כי מהן השם נתתי להלוך עמכם. Go to your place, he says to the messengers, God, the Almighty God, Youdkevitch, told me, you're lying. He didn't speak with Youdkevitch, he spoke with Elohim. Just something that's a lower level. You pretend to be like, I'm this, not this guy as big as you said you are. He said, no, I should not go. So I'm not going. So they go back to Balak. And Balak says, I know how to get this guy. You just bribe him, and he's yours. Okay? But he spoke to God. So they come to Balaam and say to him, so Balak, don't prevent yourself from coming to me. I will give you so much honor. I'll respect you. We'll do ceremonies in your sake. The whole of Moab and Midian will bow down to you. I'll make you as important as I am, as the king, whatever. Balaam's head is already turning. How can you give up something like this? Why is it like this? How many times we get an offer? Somebody approaches us. And it doesn't smell kosher. It's not by the values and not by the ethics of the right thing. It's not. We have a problem over here. And our immediate reaction, it's not reaction. It's like a lightning inside. That's not for me. But then the logic is saying, and then other people say, but you can make a lot of money, you get this, you get a position. Yeah, it's not by the ethics and the values, but you make a lot of money and you can give so much donations to charitable organization. The answer is no. No, you don't do that. You mitzvah haba ba'avira. You do a mitzvah, you make a lot of money with stealing, and then you think of charity. It's not a mitzvah because you're not connected to the light. You're disconnected. We said we learned it last week. You got it, but in the wrong way. It's a decree. You cannot. Well, maybe you can get money, but you cannot get the power inside the money. The whole Torah is about how do you get the power, the energy, the light. What's the right thing to do and how to do it? Balaam is starting like we do. You can bribe anyone, almost anyone. And he's being bribed. Respect, honor, money. It's 4,000 years, 34 centuries later. People have, with a smartphone, with it doesn't matter. People stay people. And weakness is weakness. And tests are tests. You want to be big, you have to go by the right rules. He can't cheat the light. He can cheat people. But he can't cheat the universe. You cannot cheat the system. You cannot cheat the tree of life, which is the real source of success. So Balaam said, even Balak gives me all his home full of gold and silver. I cannot do what God does not allow me. You know what? I'll come with you guys. Did you hear? The night before, God, Elohim told you, do not go with them. What he didn't understand about it? Huh? As we said last week, what you didn't understand about do not steal? Why is it complicated? What didn't you understand about it? Now you sit over here, I'll ask again. You know what God answered that night? Go ahead. Why? The way, says Rashi, the way a person wants is being led. You want it so much, you'll get, all the signs. You get a God message that God told me to do that. How many people do horrible things? They heard voices. I had a sign. How many times we did something so bad for us? And we had signs, positive signs all the way. Why? You wanted it so much? You wanted the signs, you got the signs. The fact that you have signs, it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. The question is to question yourself. Where are you coming from? Are you fighting the system of the tree of life? Or do you want to connect to the system of the tree of knowledge? Good and evil. Good for me, bad for you. That's immediately tree of knowledge. So, God is giving him one more chance. Story, he's with all of his entourage. They're going to Moab. They're there in the path, and the angel of God is standing there to stop him. He doesn't see it. Who sees it? His donkey. She stops. She's loyal to him. She doesn't want him to be hurt. He beats her up 3 times. The angel reveals himself to him. And Balaam is saying, oh, I didn't know you don't want it to go. If you don't want me to go, I won't go. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Didn't you get the message? Didn't you get the message? So how many times we can mislead ourselves and tell ourselves and convince ourselves we're doing the right thing? What happened to Balaam in the end? He was killed. He never came home from that. So, but he didn't want to listen. He was a prophet. He was a wizard. He was smart. He was in the same level of power as Moses. Didn't help it. How many people we know that are so smart, but they cannot do it right because they're full of it? You know what happens when you're full of it? there's no place for God. Very simple. It says, God says, whoever is full of pride, I cannot dwell with him in the same place. So it's either me or him. And that message is good for all of us because you never know what's right for you. You can so much, each one of us, tell ourselves stories that later on, it looks like, thank God, that we really didn't get what we wanted. You know what they say? Be careful what you're asking for. You might get it. So, talking about that, the Zohar says the following words. I'm reading verse 7 in the Zohar of Asulam with Rabbi Ashler. Ktiv Amar Hashem, Mi Bashan Ashiv Mimtzolot Yam. It's Psalms 68. יש לנו לשים לב לאמונת הקדוש ברוך הוא. We have to really לשים לב, to notice, but it's more than notice, it's like put our hearts into it, about the faith, emunah. Emunah, it's not really faith, but faith is the closest word in English for that, but emunah means foundation. It's like something that is founded and cannot be moved. It's emunah is that you know there is a God and you don't need explanations. You just feel it. You just live it. It's beyond knowing. It's a next level after knowing. Okay? It's like part of who you are. When you have that, shekol dvarav, all his words, divrei emet ve'emunah rabba, all the words of God, which is the Torah. You know, Moses didn't say anything out of his mind. Everything he channeled from above. That's why every letter, every iota, every point in the Torah, it's there. And how do you know? Just think about it. 26 centuries ago, the temple in Jerusalem was destroyed by the Babylonians, by Nebuchadnezzar. Jews were spread. Most of them were taken from Jerusalem to what is today south of Iraq, and then south of Persia. Some ran away to Egypt. Some ran away to Yemen. Some ran away to what is today Tunisia. So there were, and some ran away all the way, even before that, to Ethiopia. There were already Jewish communities all around. So for 26 centuries, there were more and more isolated Jewish communities around the world, in India, in Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, in Morocco, in Spain, you just name it. And every Jewish community had its life force coming from the Torah they had. Okay? There's one Jewish tribe, Menashe. They were exiled before by the Assyrians. They lost their Torah. They settled somewhere in the border between Myanmar and India of today. But they lost the Torah because the Chinese emperor, they still have the story and the song, how the Chinese emperor took their Torah and destroyed it. They just kept the story, we had the Torah. Still kept them till today to remember they are Israelites. So right now they're starting to move back to Israel, hundreds of them, I think even more than it. But just this summer, a few hundred of them came back, and they are the tribe of Menashe, just for remembering that we had the Torah. But there are other communities who kept the Torah. If you compare the Torahs of these Jewish communities, it's like, remember, every generation you have to copy it by hand. 300,000 letters. You compare all the Torahs around the world, 300,000 letters. It's exactly the same text. Same exactly text. Is that logical? Copying by hand for 26 centuries? It's out of this world. So you have to understand that this is beyond just, this is magic. This is the real magic. That's a good magic. And because the words of God in the Torah, they're all true, the moment something was said and God said, let there be, everything was done. All of it, all dimensions. When he created the sea was created. But sea is the whales, the dolphins, it's the little ones, the little fish. It's all without that, without the whole fauna of the sea, it's not the ocean, right? Same thing with the earth. Everything had to be calculated so everything can survive for thousands of years. And we know it's even more than that. But we, as humans, we cannot count more than we can count. How long was it before? The Jewish tradition says we cannot count, so we don't even try to fake it that we know how much was it. The scientists, some of them pretend that they know, but if you know quantum physics, if a tree fell in the forest and nobody was there, did it make a sound? Our logic is saying, of course it did. Quantum physics says, no, it did not. Prove it. If nobody was there, can you prove it if it made a sound? Of course you can't. If there was time and there was no human being with a sense of time to check it, was there time? I'm talking about science, modern science. There was, but nothing we can even explain because time exists as long as we count. That's a Jewish system of counting time. So, וזה האדם צר הלב. And a human being who has a very narrow little tiny heart. If he said that I'll do something and it took me a few years, or how long will it take till I finish my job? You send your work to somebody who says like, that's going to take 12 days. Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? How many times did it happen? Oh, it's going to take 3 hours. So he said, after 3 hours, no, we have some problems. It didn't work as early. Who are you to know how long would it take? It takes, people don't realize. הקדוש ברוך הוא לפי ממשלתו, שכל העולמות מלאים כבודות, but the creator himself has his governance. And all the universes are full of his glory. כל שכן שהוא כך, and if his universe and universe says are full of his glory, so of course he is also, you cannot give what you don't have. דבריו של אדם קטנים הם, the things of a human being, small little things. What do you really want? I want my coffee in the morning. I want to be warm. I want to be hot. I want to be cold. I need some of this. I need some of that. What do you need? Like little things, tiny little things. Just look at the stars. Some of them are bigger than that's almost the solar system. Some of those stars that we see from Earth. Now, they're so small. What's the size of our galaxy relatively to the rest of the galaxies? A tiny speck. What's the size of our planet relatively to the galaxy? The Milky Way. What's the size of a human being relatively to the planet? The stuff of a person is so small, so tiny, like dust in the wind. Okay? And not just everything is small. How long does it last relatively to history? Just nothing, says the Zohar. וכך, so a human being is only just temporary. He comes and he fades in an instant. כצל over, like a shadow. Did the shadow leave anything on the pavement? Nothing. The same way most people leave nothing. They were, they're gone, and nothing was left, and not even a trace. And if you find a trace, you have no idea who left it. And in order to be great, says the Zohar, we have first of all to acknowledge that. Aval, however, b'tshuva, by teshuva, coming back to the light, reconnecting yourself to the light, because we came from that light. Utfila, and with prayer, umasim tovim, and good deeds, uvidmaot rabot, and with a lot of tears, a person can become holy. With all of the nothingness of a person, becoming holy means that the moment we are in that level of desire to receive for the sake of sharing, You're connected to the system, to God's creation. You really become a contributing power in completing the creation. It's like God gave us that opportunity. Do you understand what does it mean, having such an opportunity, the opportunity to fix the world a little bit more and to have a share with the creation? What you have to just become is become holy. Doesn't mean you have to live in a cave. You have to sell your Ferrari and go somewhere else. No, you can have a Ferrari. No problem. If you can afford it, why not? But the moment you become holy, which means whatever you have, you use it also for the good of others. If it's your talent, your time, your powers, your strength, your money, whatever you have, just don't take it for yourself. That's being holy. If you do that, you become holy. כי הרב והעליון על כל העם, and then the one who's the big one that runs everything, all the universes, that is above everything, the Creator Himself, מאיר אורו, shines His light, ומצמצם קדושתו, and He shuts down His holiness to the person, אל האדם לעשות רצונו. It's just minimizing His light, His holy light, to the person, so the person's will be done. It's like the whole universe, say the sages on Tractate Sanhedrin. A person has to see himself like he was created for one purpose, to serve the world. At the same time, he has to be aware that the whole world was created to serve him. That's tough. I'm here to serve the whole universe, and I have to, at the same time, to think the whole universe is there to serve me. And when you're here to serve the universe will serve you. And then God, the mighty God, the Lord of this planet, the Lord of the solar system, the Lord of the Milky Way, the Lord of all the galaxies, the Lord of the whole universe, will minimize His holy light just to serve your will. Isn't that awesome? Just at your service. Me, the nothing, me, I'm a speck, I'm a nothing, I'm just the size of goodish. It's like nothing. No. The moment you turn holy and you connect to the system, everything flows to you. You become part of the creation because you become a part of the Creator, and then you help the Creator complete the job that He left uncompleted. So you, each one of us, can be part of the creation and complete it. What do you have to just do? It's like, don't make yourself like Balak. Don't make yourself like Balaam. Make yourself like the Israelites. Remember, the Israelites at that time, it's after the 40 years in the desert. All the guys who complaining, whatever, died in the desert. The ones who were left, they were all busy being united, loving each other, caring for each other, functioning together. They were not just marching in the desert, right, left, whatever. They learned how to become a nation. How do you know? When Moses goes on, they don't scatter. They go with Joshua and they conquer the land and they create a nation. And they give the time. Was that nation perfect? No. It took them about almost 500 years to have a king and to make a kingdom. But they still managed. With all the enemies around, they managed. Because why? Because somehow they were more organized and more supportive with each other than the rest of the world around them. So they managed. And when Balaam is trying to curse them, his curses bounce off the camp of Israel because they were simply immune, because they were simply united. And that's enough. Don't get yourself too busy whether others are trying to do evil against you. Get busy about how can I become so holy that my will is going to go and be uh, manifested. Why? Because when you become holy, God will do your will. That's what the Zohar is saying. So yes, the Zohar starts like, how did Balaam see? And the Zohar brings all kinds of places in the Torah and in the Nevi'im, the prophets, and the Ketuvim, talking about black magic. You want to get yourself occupied with who did black magic on me? Forget it. Don't be busy with it. Why? Because doing white magic counteracts all dark magic all at once. And what's white magic? He said, tshuva, which means it's not repentance, it's coming back to connect yourself to God. Tefillah, prayers, okay, masim tovim, good deeds in order to connect to God and His light. Bidmaot rabot, with many tears. Why tears? Because fighting the evil inside, that's hard enough. Why do you have to fight the evil outside? There's so much of it. Who do you want to fight first? There's so much evil outside. But if you didn't conquer your own evil, how do you want to fight somebody else's evil? It's impossible. First, you have to do that. When you turn to become holy, and holy again, it's not selling your Ferrari, sitting as a monk. That's not the Torah. That's something else. It's basically using everything you have, your talent. Maybe you inherited a lot of money from your father or your mother or your uncle, whatever. Maybe you are just brilliant about whatever, physics or biology, about making business. It doesn't matter. God gave you something. Whatever you did, whatever you've got, you have your special niche that you are the best, and do it with love, with happiness, and with tears. Why? To remove all that stuff that separates us from the light of God. And when you do that, God will do whatever you want. He will. Huge, but God is so huge. Does He know I exist? Yes, He does. Yes, He does. If He's the Almighty, He can do that. And I think most of you know that there were things that there's no way to explain unless you say this is an act of God. Total intervention in my life. That was impossible and it happened. Why? There's no way to explain it. Only God's intervention. It's everywhere. Why? Because everything that happens in our life is together with God. Even the dark stuff. Look, Balaam is trying to curse. And what comes out of his mouth is beautiful, beautiful blessings. Beautiful blessings that we're still using them now. But he said it. He just tried to be authentic that moment. You know what? He tried. But the problem is he was really vicious. He wanted to connect to the judgment of God. Why? That I explained last year. But I'll explain just a little bit. This universe, we spoke about it last week, and I'm saying again. This universe is structured, Olam Chesed Ibaneh. We spoke about it, Korach also. The world is based on Chesed, loving kindness. Without loving kindness, you're dead. You don't do anybody a favor, you do yourself a favor. When you're judging everything and you're critical about everything, you get stressed out, negative. Heart disease is number one, then brain strokes. It's like all of these diseases are a result of a person being judgmental. You're not doing anybody a favor by being loving and caring, and so you're doing first yourself a favor. This is scientific, okay? The Zohar said so, but everybody likes to know what science is saying. Science saying it's okay, okay? But the Zohar said so many years ago, and the Torah is also teaching it. However, you cannot have only chesed. Can you raise a child only with chesed, only with love and kindness? You have to learn to put the limits. Kids get really horrible when you don't give them the limits. They need, it's your bedtime, now it's time to get up. That's what you eat, you don't eat that. They need to know where are the limits. If you don't give them the limits, they go nuts. They're miserable. They need to know. And you have to give them those boundaries to become sane, because they want to know, what should I do, what I shouldn't do, what's right, what's wrong. Mommy, daddy, tell me. Abba, I have to know. How would I know if you don't tell me? Okay? If you really love them, you have to give also judgment. But like the judgment has to be like zit here, zit there. So the Zohar says the same thing. God injects to the universe bits of judgment here and there, so the universe won't just flow like an amoeba, no boundaries. Everything is okay, everything is going, everything goes. Do you want to know why is it that most people in modern society are manic depressive and they have to take so many medications against depression? Because nobody tells them no. You're making a fool out of yourself. It's enough. It's not good for you. No, everything goes, everything permitted. You should give people the right to. People have no self-consciousness anymore. Okay, you see it with kids and you see it with grown-ups. So God injects those moments of judgment. Balaam we said, he was in the level of Moses. He is there and he knows those moments. He wants to go online, to channel all the judgment towards the Israelites. You know what the Creator did? Because of the hard work of 40 years of Moses and the Israelites trying to cleanse themselves, there's no judgment. He can't find the judgment. Every time he tries to get into the judgment, he gets only what? Blessings. So the Zohar says, when Balak throws him away with shame, he says, one moment, I just want to tell you a secret. There's no judgment. The Israelites don't have judgment too. If you send them the most beautiful girls of Midian and Moab, they cannot say no. And the moment they'll be seduced into idol worshiping and sex, free love, like, why should I? Everybody should love each other whenever they want, whenever they feel like. You'll see what will happen. They will be plagued because they'll start touching the wrong wires. Because judgment means also how to balance the goodness, the love, the chesed, the kindness. It has to be always balanced. So the Midianites and the Moabites send their most beautiful girls to the camp of Israel. And nobody can say no, because no one can take, you need judgment to take the judgment, not to say no. You know it is, and there are people who cannot say no. So everybody takes advantage. They can say no. So let's ask them, do this for me. Do this. Can't say no. There are people who are too nice. That's wrong. You cannot be mean, and you cannot be too nice. What do you mean too nice? A person needs, don't judge me. Of course I have to judge you, right? You come and tell me, give me your money. You know what? I don't want to, right? That's a human being should know how to say no kindly and how to say yes kindly. You know what? I choose to say yes. So being judgmental, that's part of being a human being. A wholly balanced human being. There are things you don't do, there are things you do. Not everything is kosher just because you feel like. But there's no judgment. The whole camp of Israel is starting to go into chaos. And the only one who knows how to manually reawaken that judgment is Pinchas. He just does the right thing that the sages are saying no one will ever be able to do that right. Don't even think about doing something like this. 10 miracles happened to him simultaneously because he was ready to die for that. He knew he's going to die. But he activated the judgment in the universe. He got the universe back into balance. And the price of giving his life away. There was a miracle. He didn't expect it. He was very wise, but he didn't know that he changed some rule in the rules of the universe. Not just that he stopped the plague, that he brought the whole thing into balance. And you know what? A human body, when it's sick, it's because it's out of balance. The moment you get the body out back to balance, you know what will happen? The body will know by itself how to throw the disease away. You don't have to cure diseases. You have to cure a human being. When a human being is back to balance, love on one hand, judgment on the other hand, and putting them together in balance, then the rest will be taken care of. And people found it. It's like scientifically. The last decades, people start to find that people get terminal cancer and heal themselves without the doctors even knowing that. When a doctor comes to check, oh, you had a terminal cancer, but you healed yourself. That's a miracle. You know why they say it's a miracle? It's not scientific. It cannot be repeated, which means, forget it. Why it happens to millions of people? It does. You know why? One reason. When people get back to balance and they lose their death wish, whatever disease there is, they will lose it. So it's not about curing cancer or curing heart disease or curing lung pneumonia, whatever. You have to cure the human being. And when he's cured and back to balance, that was thrown out. You just have to raise the person's energy back to the tree of life. And whatever disease there is will be gone the moment that happens. And this is what this parasha is about, curing. And when you can do that, when you make yourself holy, prayers, good deeds, happy thoughts, grace, sharing, tshuva, tears, whatever, just to leave the judgment and negativity away. When you cure yourself, to turn yourself holy, you want to be healthy, God will do your will. It says so. And that's how it really works. But if you just give a pill, what did you do? The Ibn Ezra says it in Parashat Mishpatim. The physician can cure only from the outside. That's just a cover-up. Only God can cure from the inside. And he will cure when you're ready for it. And that's cure in when you just put all honor, shame, all this stuff is nonsense. Just God will do your will. Just follow. Remember how small you are. Just follow these simple rules we just said. And that's a big secret of this parasha. Thank you, and have a great week, a healing week. And this Shabbat is the 17th of Tammuz. 17th of Tammuz, this is the 3 weeks are starting. Not on Shabbat, but because Shabbat is stronger, but the next day is Sunday. So next day is the beginning of 3 weeks that end with the 9th of Av, that you have to be even more careful, but then we have Parashat Pinchas to help us balance, but still, you have to be really, really balanced and look for the meditations for the 3 weeks. But that's another topic, and we'll send it, we'll put it on Facebook. Thank you very much, and have a Shavua Tov, a good week.